All right, draft nerds, welcome in. Today, we are getting into my top 10 prospects for the 2025 NFL draft, my top 10 big board. And over the next few weeks, we're going to look at more and more prospects. We'll go 11 through 20, 21 through 30, all that good stuff, and dive into more of these guys and why I have them ranked, where I have them ranked. I think this class is really fascinating. I don't have a quarterback in the top 10. I don't have a quarterback in the top 20 of my current big board. Yeah, there's probably going to be a couple quarterbacks taken very early in this draft. I'm aware of that. But for me, my big board does not take into account positional value. It does not take into account the fact that quarterbacks will be taken highly, right? This is ranking prospects at their respective positions compared to each other, right? So this is straight up the best prospects, in my opinion, in this class, the top 10. And when I look at this top 10, maybe there's not a Caleb Williams. Maybe there's not a Marvin Harrison Jr., right? A Malik Neighbors. But I think the top 10 represents a legitimately very talented group that stands up over the test of time to a lot of other draft classes. You just don't really have the quarterback star power. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in, supporting the channel. If you enjoy the content, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you've got going on in your top 10 and where you might disagree with me here. So at 10, I do have edge James Pierce Jr. And this is a prospect that it seems like, during summer scouting, a lot of folks had James Pierce maybe even going number 1 overall. And I don't see that much of a consensus on him anymore, and I'm really not sure why folks have fallen off of him so much. I never had him quite at the top, but he hasn't moved much for me. The only reason he might have moved down to 10 from being a little bit higher on the list for me is the emergence of some other prospects that I think maybe have more complete games. But James Pierce Jr. at 6'5" and over 240 pounds, obviously not the biggest edge rusher in the world, but 21 years old, just turned 21 in October, a young prospect who has dominated at the college level for the last 2 years for Tennessee. And even though he's not a huge hulking defensive end prospect, as a 3-4 outside linebacker or a 4-3 end in like a wide 9 system, or even playing 7, I think James Pierce Jr. can play the run. He has great length. He's not underpowered for his size, right? Like, he has adequate strength for his size. He has great length, and he has great natural leverage and bend. And that allows him to get up under the pads and use his length to dictate terms even against some bigger players at times. And no, he's not going to be an elite run defender in the NFL. That's not why you're drafting him in the first round. You're drafting him in the first round because he has a super explosive get off. He can bend at the top of the arc. He can use his length to win in a variety of ways. He's got hand moves. He's got counters. And I love the fact that he can threaten you so much up the arc and then bend and flatten to the quarterback. You get so worried about that as a tackle. And then he can cross your face in a flash and be in the quarterback's lap. I think James Pierce Jr. is a fantastic pass rush prospect. And I think that he's probably going to end up going higher than where I'm seeing him in a lot of mock drafts right now. I'm seeing him like closer to 20. To me, that's just disrespectful, quite frankly. I think James Pierce Jr. is a fantastic edge prospect. At number 9, this is one of those players that creeped up for me that surpassed James Pierce Jr., not because James Pierce Jr. is lacking anything, but just because Tyler Warren, the tight end / receiver / running back / wildcat quarterback / actual quarterback out of Penn State, he is their offense. And he played quarterback in high school. So you don't see super consistency as a run blocker right now, as a blocker in general, from Tyler Warren. But at 6'6" and 260 pounds, he has all the strength and requisite ability to develop as a blocker even more in the NFL as he gets more reps doing so. But the way you can feature him in your offense is any way. You can literally get him the ball any way you can think of. He's a very good route runner at his size. He is an explosive athlete at his size. Again, 6'6", 260 pounds. He's built like an old school tight end, a Mack truck, a freight train, whatever you want to call him. But He's got route running nuance. He's got a little bit of subtlety and suddenness with his route running. And then he is so physical at the catch point, has tremendous hands at the catch point, can high point the football, and you get the ball in his hands quickly. Again, whether it's a wildcat running back on these little screens, slants, he is a freight train. He is such a load to bring down. So I think Tyler Warren is that kind of old school throwback type of tight end, but also someone you can utilize in so many different ways offensively that it's just super exciting. His combination of explosiveness and strength and size, it's rare to see. And the way that he has carried Penn State's offense is also incredibly rare to see at the tight end position. So I think that there's just not 10 better guys in this class from a football playing standpoint. And I think he's going to have a massive impact in the NFL for a very, very long time. You're just not going to find athletes that can match up with him one-on-one. If you get somebody that can match up with him physically, they're not going to be athletic enough to keep up with him. If you get someone that can match up with him athletically, they're not going to be physical enough to keep up with him. So he's a stud. At wide receiver, my wide receiver one in this class, which he would probably be realistically like maybe wide receiver 5 last year, but last year was just an insane wide receiver class. It's Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac out of Arizona. And the one thing that you can point to that he's lacking a little bit, in my opinion, is explosiveness. But he is 6'5", 212, 215 pounds, pterodactyl arms, like tremendous wingspan, great catch radius. He's very proficient at the catch point. He has reliable hands, whether it's at, contested catching situations or just catching the easy ones. He's a good athlete with the ball in his hands. There's some suddenness to his game as well that's surprising for his size. So I think he can certainly be a prototype X ball control possession receiver for you. And I love the way, at the top of his routes, he either flattens when he needs to flatten or he comes back to the football to present a target for the quarterback and make it very difficult for defenders to disrupt. So I think that he's got all the makings of a legitimate number one X receiver who you can move around the formation, get the ball in a variety of ways. He's got some wiggle, some creativity with the ball in his hands too. So you can hit him on screens. You can hit him underneath. You can get him the ball in the back. Like, you can do a lot with Tetairoa McMillan. T-Mac, and I mean, what a great nickname, right? Go Magic. Now, at 7, I have offensive guard or interior offensive lineman, Will Campbell. And this is where we're starting to talk about, in my opinion, blue chip prospects. The top 7 for me right now, I have as blue chip prospects. No questions about their game, really. But again, Will Campbell, he plays left tackle for LSU. For me, you got to play him inside at the next level. Not because of that length exclusively, which I know there's been a lot of debates online about the length situation with Will Campbell. For me, it's more about his ability to redirect and mirror movements on the edge. When you have guys that can threaten him with length and speed on the outside arc, they're consistently able to hit the inside moves on him and get that inside shoulder and get to the quarterback that way, because I don't think he has the confidence, the length, the quickness and fluidity to really keep up with some of those superstar athletes that play edge. So to me, kick him inside to guard. He will be a great athlete at guard. He will have decent, adequate length at guard. And he's a people mover. At 320 pounds, at 6'6", he is violent and he is powerful. Got a great lower half when it comes to strength. He has strength throughout his frame. I love the mindset he plays with, though, to play guard as well. I just think that you kick him inside and there's going to be no questions to ask about whether he can hold up there and be not just adequate, but high impact very early on. I think Pro Bowls in his future if he commits to playing guard. At number 6, got safety Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Starks is just kind of prototypical, I would say, as a modern free safety. He can run and hit, right? He will come downhill. He'll fire downhill. He does not miss a lot of tackles. He can He can make you feel it. He's not the biggest safety out there, but he can make you feel his hits. And then in coverage, whether you have him playing single high, split zone, man to man, he can do it all. He's got the quick feet, the fluidity, super explosiveness, great length at the position as well, in my opinion. And then man to man coverage against tight ends, backs. He can play nickel. I think you could play him outside as well in a pinch if you need to. He's got that type of physical ability. So I think Malachi Starks is going to be an absolute monster at the NFL level. Defensive lineman Mason Graham is up next for me, defensive tackle, really out of Michigan, and another blue chip prospect. Like, so you're seeing what I'm saying here when I'm talking about this top 10 class. I really, really am a huge fan of a lot of these guys, and Mason Graham, it's starting to get hard for me to say this prospect should really be rated higher or ranked higher than this other prospect because they're all so good. Mason Graham, I love the flexibility, the explosiveness, the violence and strength that he brings to the interior defensive line. His flexibility and explosiveness, in my opinion, will allow him to play across the front if you want him to. But if you want to line him up at 3-tech and just say, pin your ears back, go get after the quarterback, create disruption in the backfield against the run, he can do that. He can be stout as well. He can hold up against double teams. Again, I think he could play 5-tech with his flexibility and explosiveness. So I think Mason Graham is going to be a 3-down defensive tackle. You never want to take him off the field. Of course, you're going to have a rotation at the NFL level, but he is just a monster in the middle. Abdul Carter comes in at number 4 for me, the edge out of Penn State. Similar career arc so far to, Micah Parsons, who converted from linebacker to edge. Abdul Carter did that this year at Penn State, wearing the same number. And it's kind of freaky, man. Like, the development he has shown week to week, specifically with his hands, he has developed so many different nuanced hand counters and hand move. Like, he's developed the cross chop, the two-hand swipe. He can long arm you. He can bull rush you. He has as explosive off the ball as James Pierce is. There's something different about the way Abdul Carter moves and gets off the ball. It's incredible to watch. You just gotta take a peek at him playing in these Big Ten games this year. He's been a monster, and I just think that the arrow is pointing so high up for Abdul Carter. I think he could be one of the most impactful edge players in the league in short order. Cornerback Will Johnson up next out of Michigan. He's dealt with some injuries this year, so when it's all said and done, if he's not able to go through like the pre-draft process like some of these other guys are, maybe you see him fall down a little bit. But as of right now, based on what I've seen on tape, he's similar to Malachi Starks. He's a prototype type of player. He's got all the quick feet, fluid hips, length, reads the game incredibly well at the cornerback position, whether he's playing up at the line of scrimmage, off man, off zone coverage. I think Will Johnson's going to be able to quickly turn a weakness into a strength for whatever team drafts him at the cornerback position. And he has played in a Jesse Minter defense. He's played in defenses where, modern NFL, where you have a lot of different looks and a lot of different ways to respond to the different ways offenses are going to attack you. So I think Will Johnson's, like I said, a prototype corner in this modern game. And that leaves 2 prospects. At number 2, I have running back Ashton Jeanty. And I said, when I have 2 prospects, or when I put this board together, I don't really value positions, right? If I have 2 prospects that I basically feel exactly the same about, I will put the more valuable position, quote unquote, higher. And so that's why Ashton Jeanty is at number 2 for me, and Travis Hunter is at number 1. Because whether Travis Hunter is playing corner or receiver, in my opinion, in the modern NFL, those 2 positions are more valuable than running back. But at number 2, Ashton Jeanty, born in Jacksonville, by the way, shout out to him. Started playing football in Italy, moved over to Texas during his high school days and just dominated. Didn't get the big offers, but he's a special player. From the moment he stepped on the field at Boise State, you could tell he was special, and it's just continued to grow. And he's still a really young prospect, only in his 3rd year in college. Ashton Jeanty so low to the ground. Like the defining trait is his tackle breaking ability, his contact balance after he breaks tackles to continue to pile forward. But he really has everything. Like great pass protector, really solid hands out of the backfield. And I think in the few occasions you've seen him kind of used as a receiver, even lined up at receiver, you see that skill set. They don't do it a lot, but I think the skill set's absolutely there to be more of an impact receiver at the next level than they've utilized him as. And he's got long speed. Like to me, he's a 4.4 guy at 5'8", 5'9", 215 to 220 pounds. I think that he's just got it all, and he's going to be a dynamic football player for whoever drafts him. He's a special running back. And then again, at number one, cornerback / wide receiver Travis Hunter. Hunter, for me, I think he's a little bit more scheme specific as a corner than he is a receiver. I think you want him in zone coverage more as a corner. If you task him with playing man coverage against some of these Monstar receivers, I just don't know how that's going to go at the NFL level. I really don't. But as a zone corner, his eyes, unbelievable. His anticipation, route anticipation, and playing wide receiver helps him play corner. Playing corner helps him play wide receiver. But, and that's from a mental standpoint, if he is able to focus more on one position at the next level than the other, he will lock in even further mentally, and he won't be nearly as physically exhausted. He's not going to have to physically exert himself as much. Like he's playing 110, 20, 30, 130 snaps a game, playing both sides of the ball for Colorado, doing incredible things. So whichever position he commits to more, which I do think if he's a corner, yes, there will be packages on the offensive side of the ball from a wide receiver. But if he's a wide receiver, I don't know how much he's going to play corner. I don't know how it's going to play out. And for him, if you want to play receiver, good for you. That's where the money's at, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But I think either way, you're going to get someone who's better in the NFL than they are right now at whatever position you kind of lock him into and have him focus on more. So I think that's pretty darn exciting. And like I said, I'm fired up about this top 10 group. I think after the top 10, there's a lot to get excited about too, but more question marks. This top 10 and a few more of the guys down the list beyond 10, I think are going to be just tremendous difference makers. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.